United Nations statistic, 20 million people are dying every year. It's associated from hunger and illnesses, but that's not interesting, you know, maybe we can leave it aside. I think we should look at that and make those connections between critique, explanation, normativity in detail. And as for time, like, I think that we at least should try to do something. I know that those analyses won't be perfect, but you know, where to stop? For example, we can say there is the development of human civilization. Depends how you define it. Let's say the last 12,000 years, and you can say, okay, we will stop at Homer, for example, you know, and it's enough. You will analyze Odyssey, and that's it. But maybe somebody would like to analyze also feudalism, and somebody would like to analyze capitalism, and other people would like to analyze what's going on now, capitalist globalization. And so even if we can make some mistakes, of course, it wouldn't be enough to stop at Hegel, I would say, 200 years ago. So other authors, and including Honneth, he writes about human rights, for example, and Nancy Fraser writes about the contemporary global development and so on, Habermas too, and about the problems in the European Union and so on. So I think that we can include it in the theory of history and at least try to show what problems people have and what inequalities in reality. And then when we see that, we can show some tendencies where to go concerning a normative theory. So basically I agree with you, but I just wanted to add some points which can show that some analysis could be made in detail, and I think that Honneth and Habermas and others have bigger ambitions than just to be stick in one point in the division of labor.
Professor Emil?
Yeah, thank you for the lecture. I appreciate it very much, especially your theoretical framework or analytical framework here. I think it would be very helpful. Also for us in our analysis of some works of theorists. What I would, I also would agree with you at least with two remarks on Honneth. The one that he forgot the agents in his analysis, and the other with regard to social science. I think he forgot a very important point of critical theory that was just the idea of connecting science with reflection and we really attempt to social reality. I think that was a mistake. And he expresses it also when he speaks about social science with a very despective position. And in his book about Das Recht der Freiheit, he uses films or literature, but he hardly uses science when he is speaking about reality in breaks. So, well, but I would ask you two short questions. And the first one is regarding the agents today. When we think about Habermas often spoke about social movements as agents and so, but nowadays we, at least cannot speak about the collective agents like Habermas was presupposing some years ago. So what could be the agents of transformation today in the sense you was asking for? And the second question closely related to it, what could be the role of this kind of agent for critical theory today?
Okay, thank you, Emil. Concerning Habermas, he makes various analyses in the global scale and in the European scale, and especially when he is focusing on the European Union, he shows some deficits, for example, democratic deficits and so on. And he analyzes not just consumerism of citizens and explaining by this why they are many times passive, but at the same time he shows some deficits in the infrastructure of political and legal infrastructure of the European Union. So he tries to show how civil society and public sphere can be more developed and how we can stress activities and participation of citizens in the process of the financial and economic crisis in the European Union, and how European citizens can participate not just in their nation states but in the European Union, also with the cosmopolitan dimension, I would say, to see what's going on the global scale. So I would say that his analyses are especially, analysis you ask about, analysis of European citizens. He doesn't talk too much about social movements or other collective agents, but from some points of view you can say that individual citizens, that's one part of his analysis, then citizens of a nation state, it's already a collectivity, and then citizens of the European Union, it's also a collectivity. So it's different than in the past, but still there is a talk about social groups in his analysis. But of course we can analyze more, and sometimes he does, but Nancy Fraser is more specific concerning social movements today. And when we analyze what's going on today, and you ask what those social agents are, I think that we have to focus on negative social agents on the one side and positive agents on the second side. So we have to see those two trajectories, genealogy, negative tendencies and positive tendencies in the history. And of course, when we see, for example, some active citizens connected with the Tea Party in the USA, that's not exactly what we want to support, I would say. But on the other side, there are some positive aspects in the Occupy movement or in some protests in Spain or Greece and so on, and also in the Czech Republic. And I don't mean that we have to analyze what's going on today or yesterday, but these processes are here, for example, since 2007 and 2008, or since the economic and financial crisis started, but also since that's, in fact, I would say that the crisis is just a consequence of the deeper processes which go on at least since the end of 70s or since the 80s. I mean, neoliberal globalization, Thatcherite, and what Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan started to do. So now we see the consequences of the neoliberal processes, and we know how bad it is and what it meant in the 90s in Latin America, for example. So it's not necessary to analyze it only these years. We can see it, what's going on several decades, and moreover, capitalism started several centuries ago, or it depends how you count it, and liberal ideology with that as well. So neoliberalism is just a new version of longer, older processes we can analyze, and we see how it developed today. So it's not exactly new, and from this point of view, I think that we can analyze these processes, and we saw, for example, what it meant when liberal capitalism collapsed in the 30s. It was the World War II. And you can say today, okay, there is a time lag today and we don't know how to analyze it exactly. Yes, that's, maybe we can say this, but what about the World War III? It could come. And then we will say, oh, you know, we analyzed all the processes, and but then maybe there will be nobody who will analyze something else. So I think that we've got a responsibility to look what's going on also in these years and decades. And I don't say that this crisis will end in the same way as liberal capitalism collapsed in the 30s. But we see a collapse of neoliberal capitalism today too. It has many problems, and there could be neo-fascist or neo-Nazi consequences of that. And of course, when the stock exchange in New York crashed in '29, it took 10 years. And then the World War II started. So, you know, we know when this crisis started, and I don't say that there is a total parallel, but there is a danger. And even if the development will be different, probably, hopefully, still we should be aware of what's going on. And if there are such dangers as the war, or, you know, look at what's going on in Africa or in Asia, you know, massive exploitation, and as I said, according to United Nations statistics, 20 million people are dying from hunger and connected illnesses. That's a humanitarian disaster. You know, if you count how many people die from hunger every year, today, it's more than how many people died because of Nazism during the World War II, annually, you know. You know how many people died during the World War II because of the conflict. And if you count losses today, it's even more, annually. So it's horrible. So I think that we should address these issues and to try to analyze it and to see those global inequalities and global injustice. And it's not just global, it's local. It's in many local places, but together it's connected with the system we have here, and which is not in all the countries on the planet, but which is in most of countries, or at least most of countries are somehow influenced this system of capitalist globalization. And if there are so many losses, I think that we are somehow obliged and responsible for any analysis we should offer if we know about that, even if we could be mistaken, and sometimes we can be wrong, but so that's it. And for example, in my analysis, I follow in something Axel Honneth, for example, when he says in dispute with, let's say, for example, that it's important to analyze not just visible protests in social movements and so on, it's also important, but also invisible protests. I agree with him that also this is very important, but that's exactly what I'm thinking when I talk about transdisciplinary research, and when we can see what's going on in the world, what global inequalities and global injustices here. Because if we look at the global poor, living with almost nothing per day, or $1 or even less per day, those people have no financial means to go to the capitals of the Western countries where decisions are taken to protest. They've got no money to go to the capital of their own state. They are just living, they are locked in many positions and dying there. So that's a silent protest. That's the everyday struggle for recognition. That should be counted. That's invisible. So, of course, in the West, it's usual to analyze visible protests. Because when we talk about protests, what do we mean? And not just in the West, also in Latin America. When people go to the street, when they make demonstrations, when they make strikes. But we should address also other kinds of protests, which are not visible. So Honneth is right when saying that. But he doesn't analyze that. He doesn't analyze the global poor, those millions of people dying. And that global invisible protest should be addressed, I think. And not just poverty, but I mean, not just the drastic poverty, but even usual poverty, which is also problematic. And those people really struggle every day in their own lives. It's not the big protest in the street, but we know how to analyze it. The social sciences can do it, and we can reflect it in social and political philosophy too. So I'm in favor of transdisciplinary cooperation between philosophy and social sciences, and you know, also the Prague conference is called Philosophy and Social Science.
Follow.
It's just a quick question. I think that I know the answer, but anyway. If you think that all the critical theory available, they don't fulfill, you know, the criteria that you put for the explanatory, the critical, and the normative, you think that the critical theory is still to be built?
Yeah, thank you for your question, and yes, I would say yes in plural, because many authors can develop their own attempts to formulate, to articulate critical social theory, and then in dialogue we can see when we are wrong and when we are right, and it's a common project. It's not an individualistic project of one or another author, but it's a common project, and the same with social science or natural sciences. It's not just a question of one person, but a dialogue of many people, and then we go on and try to develop it. I mentioned not just the critical social theory, I said all the critically oriented social and political theory, from my point of view, should address critique, explanation, normativity with those combinations, not just mechanically put together. But for example, one in a beautiful way develops explanatory normativity, but there are other kinds which should be developed as well. So I think that this is the answer.
So as we have no more questions, so I'd like to thank you, Marek, for such insightful speech. I think you touched the proper points of critical theory. Especially for myself, it was really helpful, and I'm really happy because my personal research is the same subject as your speech. And in the name of the committee, organizing committee, I would like to thank everyone that participated today with us. And I think we end here. Thank you. And just to provoke Fabricio, traditional theory tries to hit back.
Ela para final.